Lord be with you.
And with your spirit.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to John.
Glory to you, O Lord.
Jesus said, I am the good shepherd. A good shepherd lays down his life for the sheep. A hired man who is not a shepherd and whose sheep are not his own sees a wolf coming and leaves the sheep and runs away. And the wolf catches and scatters them. This is because he works for pay and has no concern for the sheep. I am the good shepherd, and I know mine, and mine know me. Just as the Father knows me, and I know the Father, and I will lay down my life for the sheep. I have other sheep that do not belong to this fold. These also I must lead, and they will hear my voice, and there will be one flock, one shepherd. This is why the Father loves me, because I lay down my life in order to take it up again. No one takes it from me, but I lay it down on my own. I have power to lay it down and power to take it up again. This command I have received from my Father. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
When I was in Idaho, there was a road that I traveled occasionally, and that road seemed similar to Cedar Bluff here. 2 lanes each way, and there's a center lane for turning. I was driving along that road and had to come to a stop because this large herd of sheep had just started crossing the road. And so there was a guy, a rancher I presume, who had a hold of one of the sheep's collars, and he guided that one sheep across the road, and all these other sheep followed along. So there had to be at least 1,000 sheep in the herd. That's probably a small number of compared to what it really was, but at least 1,000 sheep. And if we're not really that many people participating and moving these sheep, it was just a couple of people. Now, it's interesting that if just one of these sheep was pulled by this rancher, then all those other sheep, they just go wherever that sheep is going, where that rancher is going. Going across a busy road, no problem. They just follow. They don't have to worry about where they're going. They just move along with the pack. And I think that sheep and cats are probably opposites. So imagine trying to get a bunch of cats to follow you by grabbing the collar of one of the cats and just dragging it off in some direction. You know, there's this phrase I hear a lot these days that says, that's not going to end well. And I think it might take like maybe 3,000 people to move 1,000 cats. In today's gospel, Jesus refers to the people in his flock as sheep. In what ways are you like a sheep? Do you do whatever you can to stay close to your fellow sheep? Do you follow them wherever they may go, even when they go to places that might seem nonsensical? I'm more like a cat. You know, if Father Jorge is too nice to do this, but just as an example, if Father Jorge were to grab someone by the collar, and drag them off across Cedar Bluff, I'd be watching, but I'm not going to follow that crazy scene, along there. He's way too nice. Initially, Father Doug was going to do this mass, and it seemed more fitting. I'm not sure why. This tendency to follow the sheep, as a society, like our society, what we live in, we there's a tendency to view that as seriously flawed behavior. You may have heard this term sheeple. That's an insult. If someone were to say that you do whatever you do just because you're a sheep following the herd blindly, they're insulting you. Smart people do their own thing, they say. They don't go along with the crowd, they say. Nonconformists are the people that use their minds, they say. In this society, followers are somehow deeply flawed. So just one moment of full disclosure here. I spent a few days at this annual event. It's called Burning Man. Just to say right off the bat, if you care about your soul, I recommend you stay away from that thing. I'm not sure how I got out of there in one piece. Mentally, I don't know how I got out of there in one piece, but this festival I went to, the idea is that all the societal constraints are cast aside, and people live as their true selves. Now, I did not get caught up in that nonsense by the grace of God, I suppose, but it was really strange for me just to observe how this all really worked. Because, it seems that to properly cast off societal constraints, there's all these rules you have to follow to be a proper nonconformist. It's so weird, we're going to shed the world of oppression and rules and do whatever we want. And you can do that too, as long as you follow this list of 653 rules. Our society has this value around nonconformity, but it's so hard to be a real nonconformist. And in this time, like in this space, right, year 2021, right here, Knoxville, Tennessee, it's hard to imagine how being a sheep is acceptable. Society gives us these messages, right, that are sent constantly. This is valued, this is not valued. So I've got this scale, just to kind of think about it here. I've got this scale that goes from the bottom to the top. At the bottom, let's say, we would mark, I'm going to talk about this scale. I want to use it as a way to gauge some things. So at the bottom, we'd say loathsome. That's the bottom of the scale. And a little bit above that might be problematic. And then up a little bit above that would be undesirable. And then around here, we get to tolerable. Up here, starting to get to acceptable. Up here, we get to a desirable. Above that is beneficial. And at the top, we'll call that perfection. So on this scale that I've just listed here, where would you put sheep-like behavior? Where would you, if you were going to say this is where sheep-like go, where does that go on the scale? Where are sheeple on this scale? And where on the scale would you put independently minded, self-thinking, self-directed, go wherever they want to go cats? Where would you put them? So I want you to kind of hold on to that evaluation that you have there in your head about sheep and cats and think again about today's gospel reading. Jesus says, I am the good shepherd. I will lay down my life for the sheep. I have other sheep that belong to this fold. Those other sheep are us, right? We're the Gentiles. We're the other sheep. So I have other sheep that belong to this fold. These also I must lead, and they will hear my voice, and there will be one flock, one shepherd. Now really, there's only one way for there to be one flock, and that's for the flock to behave like sheep. To follow Jesus, to stay together, to be one, to be universal, to be holy, to be apostolic, those are the marks of the church. So I have a couple of questions here, just because, in our society, in this time, it really is hard to be a sheep, right? To follow Jesus. It really is hard. So I've got these questions that you may consider. this coming week as you're moving about, just thinking about the pressures on us to be cats, not sheep. So you might ask yourself, when I'm at the store, am I following Jesus like a sheep, or am I making choices like a cat? When I'm driving on I-40, am I following Jesus like a sheep, or am I making choices like a cat? When I'm at work or school, am I following Jesus like a sheep, or am I making choices like a cat? When I'm viewing or posting on social media, am I following Jesus like a sheep, or am I making choices like a cat? When I'm at home and interacting with my family, am I following Jesus like a sheep, or making choices like a cat? And finally, when I'm in prayer with God, am I following Jesus like a sheep, or am I making choices like a cat?